Okay guys, so this is step 1 of the holds video. When you are checking books in, as you normally do when you come in and get started with the day, as you're checking in, sometimes you may get special messages here. If it says that a book should be held for a student, the very first thing you're going to do is get a piece of scrap paper from this basket. Just a small quarter sheet is fine. And the first step, no matter what, is that you write that student's first and last name on your sheet. You don't need to write their middle names. They do show up, but you don't need those. If you have a question about that, ask me or ask whomever's working with you. And we'll do step 2 for the next video. So this is step 2 of holds. You have already identified there's a hold and written the student's name on a piece of scrap paper. Your next step is to use that name and go to that student's record to see whether or not they already have books out. So you're going to look the student up in the system. Oops. And once you identify that student, do make sure the student's name matches, because we do have a couple students have the same first and last names. And if we have a question about that, we'll take care of it. But what I want you to pay most attention to when you go into the record is how many books a student has out. Since Elena only has 1 book out, she could have a second fiction or a graphic novel. So we would be just fine to go ahead right now and check this book out to her. And we'll see that it pops up there. Since we've checked it out to her, I would also like you to put a check mark on this little piece of scrap paper to show that, yes, I did check it out. The next thing we need is to identify where to take this to her since we checked it out to her. It's going to go to Mrs. Gragg's room, so you may just write her last name. Now, if it's a Solis, you need to identify Mr. or Mrs. Solis, okay? Mr. Solis is Joseph, and his classes are 8th graders, and Mrs. Solis is Hannah, and her classes are 7th graders. And we also need the class periods. So now we have the student's name, where it goes, and that this book is checked out. That means we can deliver that directly to the student. Books will go on the left side under holds to be delivered. And every one of them should show the student's name, a check mark, and the teacher's room for English. Okay, so step 3 on the holds video includes if you get a student who already has 2 fiction books out and need to get a notice to them. So remember, we have Elena's first and last name. I've gone into her record, but this time I've gone into her record and she already has 2 fiction books checked out. Since she's only allowed to have 2 at a time, we're going to have to get a notice to her that will hold her book here in the library for 2 days until she comes to get it. So you will need a yellow notice in addition to the white paper you already started. You're going to fill in Elena's name, and I'm not going to write all that down right now, but you would write her first and last name. You're going to look at her English teacher class periods. They don't need to go here, just on the yellow sheet, because this is what gets delivered to her classroom. You're going to write the title of the book that's on hold, so I'm going to write drama. And then she has 2 school days. 2 school days to come and get it. This is a Thursday right now that I'm making this video, so I'm going to look at the calendar really quickly. And if this is Thursday, we want to give her Friday and then Monday. So I'm actually going to make this 8/7/17. Then at the bottom, I'd like you to sign off with your initials that you're the person who prepared this form. So the notice is ready. The only other thing we have to do with the white slip is write the date that we put here so that we know when to pull these books and put them back out in our collection if she doesn't come to get the book. Once we've written that information, please stick it inside the book, somewhere in the middle so it stays in, not in the very front cover, and make sure that her name and that date is showing. Then you're going to take your slip that gets delivered and the book that she has to come pick up and put them back here on the top of the shelving cart. So the yellow slips go in the blue basket. The books that are holds to be picked up by students that they have to come and get are here. And you will notice that none of these books have a check mark like the books over here that get delivered. And that is all that you have to do.